They won't tell you this, but every man has a silent craving and invisible pull toward a woman who doesn't even need to speak loudly to own the room. It's not about beauty. It's not about perfection. It's something deeper. A magnetic, unseen, feminine force. And once you understand how to tap into it, he won't be able to look away. Even if he tries, there's a different kind of power that doesn't need to be announced. It doesn't come from how loud a woman speaks, how many people she impresses, or how much attention she gathers. It comes from something far quieter, something that doesn't seek permission. And that power begins the moment she decides to root herself in her own worth. When a woman knows her value, truly and deeply, she stops overextending herself to be chosen. She no longer performs or bends just to be liked. She no longer feels the need to prove that she's good enough or lovable. That need to be validated from the outside begins to fall away because there's already a solid foundation built on the inside. And that inner knowing, quiet as it may seem, is magnetic. You can see it in the way she walks into a room without needing to be the loudest, yet somehow, she's the one you can't stop looking at. There's a calm in her eyes, an ease in her body, a softness in her voice that doesn't apologize for existing. It's not arrogance. It's not aloofness. It's self-possession. This kind of woman doesn't seek approval. She doesn't try to fit into expectations. She lives in a space of inner approval, where she's already enough. She trusts her own company. She honors her boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable. And because of that, people don't just respect her, they feel her. They sense her energy before she says a word. There's a dignity that doesn't need to be declared because it's already embodied. Rooted self-worth doesn't just change the way a woman shows up in the world. It transforms the way the world responds to her. She no longer chases opportunities, they gravitate toward her. She no longer clings to relationships, those meant for her naturally find her. And more than anything, she no longer fears rejection. Because she understands that rejection isn't a reflection of her value, it's redirection. She trusts life to bring her what's aligned, and she's brave enough to release what's not. And when it comes to connection, something else shifts. She doesn't overgive to be loved. She doesn't shrink herself to be accepted. She lets people rise to meet her, not the other way around. This isn't coldness, it's clarity. And clarity is power. Because when a woman stops proving, she starts attracting. The more she stands in her quiet strength, the more irresistible her presence becomes. But there's something even more powerful than words, more powerful than proving. It's silence. Silence that isn't emptiness but presence. Silence that holds boundaries. Silence that radiates mystery. Silence that invites curiosity instead of explaining itself. Silence is often misunderstood. Some think it means pulling away, disappearing, playing games. But true feminine silence is different. It's intentional. It's composed. It's a choice not to withdraw in fear, but to stand still in self-respect. It's the moment a woman decides, I don't need to chase, beg, or convince. I'll let my absence do what my words could not. There's a quiet revolution that happens in those moments. When she steps back, not out of pettiness, but power, the energy shifts, the balance changes, the noise fades, and suddenly her silence becomes deafening. It speaks volumes. It says, I value my peace more than attention. I choose myself before I choose confusion. I trust that what's meant for me will never have to be chased. That kind of silence stirs something, because it's not passive, it's purposeful. It's not bitter, it's boundaried. And in that stillness, something magical begins to unfold. Space is created, space for reflection, space for realization, space for longing. And in that space, she is remembered, missed, felt, not because she said the right thing, but because she stopped saying anything at all. Not because she reached out, but because she didn't. It's in her ability to be still that her strength is felt. The way she holds herself in uncertainty. The way she doesn't collapse into fear. The way she remains soft, but unavailable to disrespect. That is rare. That is power, because most people are reactive. Most people rush to fill silence with noise, to demand answers, to chase what's unclear. But the woman who stays grounded, who allows silence to do the speaking for her, she's unforgettable. She becomes a mirror. She becomes the lesson, not through punishment, but through poise and mystery. That's where everything changes. The world has taught women to be loud to be seen, to over-explain to be understood, to show everything to be loved. But true feminine mystery is an art. It's not about withholding, it's about not over-disclosing. It's about leaving space for discovery, not because she's hiding, but because she doesn't feel the need to hand herself over all at once. There's something breathtaking about a woman who doesn't reveal everything up front, who doesn't rush to make someone feel comfortable, who lets others earn her layers. The woman who leaves room for curiosity becomes unforgettable, because in a world addicted to overexposure, she's the one you want to understand but can't quite figure out. Mystery isn't about playing games. It's about pacing. It's about not giving away all your depth to people who haven't earned the right to swim in it. It's about allowing someone to experience you not all at once, but gradually, with presence, with pacing, with power. This is the unseen feminine force. It's not in perfection, performance, or appearance. It's in restraint, in groundedness, in the sacredness of self. It doesn't demand attention. It draws it in. It doesn't chase, it calls. It doesn't seduce, it captivates. And in a world that screams for attention, the woman who whispers to the soul becomes unforgettable, not because she tried, but because she didn't need to. There is a rare kind of woman who doesn't need to rush. She doesn't react just because she feels provoked. She doesn't jump to defend herself, doesn't scramble for clarity when uncertainty enters the room. She stays still, composed, and sovereign within herself. That stillness isn't indifference, it's strength. And that strength isn't loud, it's steady, rooted in something deeper than emotion or impulse. Stillness is power in its purest form. It is the quiet defiance of chaos. It is the gentle resistance to being pulled in every direction. It is the invisible shield that says, "My peace is not up for negotiation." This woman has learned that reacting immediately often gives away her center. She chooses instead to respond from calm, grounded awareness. She doesn't give people control over her emotional landscape because she knows how precious that terrain is. She guards it, not with walls, but with wisdom. In the presence of such stillness, something powerful happens. People begin to reflect instead of deflect. The energy shifts, the noise fades. Because when she doesn't flinch, when she doesn't chase, when she doesn't raise her voice or lose her presence, others are forced to meet her on that level or walk away. And either is a gift. This kind of woman doesn't operate from desperation. She's not addicted to movement for the sake of reassurance. She doesn't need immediate responses or constant confirmation to feel safe. Her safety is self-sourced. Her identity is intact, even in silence, even in waiting, even in space. And that's where her magnetic pull lives, in the refusal to betray her own rhythm just to match someone else's pace. When she is still, she isn't idle. She's listening, observing, sensing, letting things come into clarity without forcing them into shape. She lets time reveal what pressure often distorts. And because of that, her decisions are cleaner, her boundaries are clearer, her presence is more potent. She doesn't waste her energy proving, fixing, or performing. She saves her fire for what feeds her. And that fire burns quietly but powerfully. True strength is not in dominance, but in restraint. Not in control, but in composure. Not in being everywhere, but in being centered, especially when emotions rise, especially when things feel uncertain. That's the quiet force that changes everything. But even deeper than stillness is the energy of receptivity, not in the way. The world often misinterprets it, not as passivity, weakness, or dependency. True feminine receptivity is a masterful balance of softness and standards. It's the capacity to receive without shrinking, to allow without surrendering integrity. It is the ability to hold space without filling it with noise, to lean back without disconnecting, and to remain open without giving up discernment. She doesn't fight for affection. She doesn't grasp. She doesn't demand attention or approval. She simply receives what is aligned and allows what is misaligned to fall away. She doesn't collapse under the fear of losing, because she knows anything that can't meet her where she is isn't meant to stay. She trusts that life, love, and connection will flow to her, not when she begs, but when she allows. Receptivity isn't an action, it's a different kind of action. It's intuitive. It's magnetic. It's deeply discerning. It requires emotional maturity and self-awareness. It requires letting go of control without letting go of clarity. It means knowing how to open without overextending, knowing how to love without losing yourself in that love, and knowing how to hold your standard while still embracing softness. She knows how to stay soft in a world that taught her to harden. She knows how to feel deeply without becoming chaotic. She knows how to listen to her heart without silencing her boundaries. She understands that emotional intelligence isn't about being agreeable, it's about being intentional. She knows how to feel everything without acting on every feeling. That's the balance. That's the grace. And perhaps the most beautiful part, she's not trying to be anything other than who she already is. She's not reaching outside of herself to gain worth. She's not trying to earn love through performance. She's simply embodying her truth, living it, owning it, breathing it. She walks through the world not as a question mark, but as a full sentence, not seeking answers, but embodying them. And that embodiment changes everything. Because once a woman becomes what she seeks, she no longer chases it. Once she becomes the peace, the presence, the purpose, those who are aligned will naturally be drawn in, not because she's trying to attract, but because she's being. There's a quiet confidence in a woman who doesn't need to prove her worth. She speaks when there is purpose, not just to fill silence. She moves with intention, not to be seen, but because every step is rooted in alignment. She dresses not for validation, but to express her energy. She sets boundaries not to punish, but to protect her peace. And she loves not to feel complete, but because she already is. She has spent time alone. She has faced herself. She has sat with the discomfort of stillness, and in that silence, she has found her own voice. Not the voice the world gave her, not the roles she was assigned, but the truth that lives underneath all the noise. She has unlearned the need to overachieve just to be accepted. She has released the urge to fix others just to feel needed. She no longer wears the mask of perfection. She no longer compromises her soul for surface-level connection. She would rather be misunderstood in her truth than adored in a lie. And from this place, she becomes a mirror, a reflection of what is possible when a woman remembers who she is, when she returns to herself, when she stops performing and starts embodying. She becomes a reminder that power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it simply is. She is not in a rush. She is not in lack. She is not in fear. She is in flow. She is in presence. She is in her power not because she demands it, but because she is it. When you meet her, you'll feel it. Not just in what she says, but in what she doesn't. Not just in what she does, but in what she chooses not to do. Her restraint speaks louder than indulgence. Her standards speak louder than demands. Her absence speaks louder than her presence ever could. When something no longer serves her, she teaches not through instruction, but through embodiment. She leads not by controlling others, but by mastering herself. She inspires not through image, but through energy. This is the unseen feminine force. It cannot be faked. It cannot be replicated by mimicry or imitation. It is earned through inner work, through the moments no one sees, when she chose her dignity over her desire, when she chose her truth over being liked, when she walked away, not in anger, but in grace. She doesn't strive to be unforgettable. She already is.